7 minutes. It's go time. as always, your patience is appreciated. And I've got someone calling like I'm not really doing a podcast. Hello. Yeah, just started my podcast. What's up? All right, I'll talk to you later. Love you. Bye. That's Recovery 101. People calling to check in on you no matter what you're up to. Boys and girls out there listening land. So, welcome from Cushing, Minnesota, up here at the camper and the Serenity. This is my Serenity Village right here. My little getaway. Got to find you one. Or come connect with me and come up and check it out. This is open to anyone that's interested in checking it out type of a situation. We'll talk about that. Attitude for Gratitude. Welcome back, everybody. This is all fresh and weird and new for me to do this from my spot. As always, if you're struggling, please reach out. Please utilize this platform to use the comment section. You've got my number. It will be scrolling across the bottom here very shortly. But please reach out. If you're struggling, just reach out. Mental health is a real thing. People deal with that. And please face it head on. Seek professional help. Do whatever you must to stay ahead of the game, ahead of the curve, or to take care of yourself. You're worthy of this life of recovery and this life of happiness. I haven't got anything figured out. I just know how to keep showing up and giving it my best. That's what I do on a daily, because life doesn't really care if I get clean or not. Life is still going to show up no matter if I set the drugs and alcohol down. And it was a tough lesson to learn. And you know what? Today, every day, it's something that I get to go through, but it's something that's still tough. On one side of my brain, I'm like, yeah, but I'm doing so good in life today. Like, I'm not living the way I was. So things should be going good. Unfortunately, that's just not the case. That's just not how it always works out. And I get to accept that. But the other side of things is I now know today how to reach out when life is showing up. This would be the... All right, you guys can hear me. Awesome. I just got it in my headphone and we're going. So as always, reach out with any comments, concerns, questions. People that are already checking in, Jay-Z and TZ and everyone else, Jay Smiths, all you guys, like, I appreciate the early check-ins. You guys help make this show stay going. I'm going to read a couple letters tonight that I've received over the past few years of doing this show. Some text messages that I've received. And if anyone posts any questions, we'll talk about those too. They are good. Just not the good you expected. But yeah, I will be sharing everything with you guys and gals out there in listening land tonight. And if there are any questions or comments, I'll address those. This isn't going to be a long show. It's not going to be a normal show. I don't have any guests, but I always share about this. This is my Friday night meeting. So this is what I need to do to stay healthy, and this is what I need to do. This is what I want to do, and this is what I get to do, not to live the life I used to live. Plus, like, check it out. Come on. I can sit out here and just be that weird. Man, I'm a bird nerd. Look at, I got like so many hummingbird feeders and all these other feeders. I don't know what they're really called, but like this little thing hanging over there, I get these weird birds that just sit and keep eating it, like no matter if I'm a foot away or not. It's awesome stuff. I know that's not really recovery based, but for me, that's my recovery. That's what helps me through, is like coming up here and being able to stay grateful for what's showing up and what's going on. We'll work for recovery. That's where we do the show from. This is where I got my recovery start. I got out of my inpatient treatment, and while I was there at New Way, there was this little flyer on the wall with a picture of this lady and this guy with a motorcycle mustache, one of those big old handlebar mustaches like this. And I'm like, that's recovery. Like, what the hell is that? And I seen it says, we'll work for recovery with that. You guys have all seen it. It's like a one of those, when people are out flying signs for money. It's one of those cardboard signs, and it just says, we'll work for recovery. Like, the concept's great. And then I read it, and it talked about this recovery center that takes somewhat of a different approach. They don't really talk about the different approach they take. What they do is they just kind of talk about the resources and everything that's offered. So it looked interesting to me. And I went down there. Like, I believe the 36-year-old recovering addict I asked my mommy or my daddy for a ride down to Will Work for Recovery on the north side at 2520 North 2nd Street. And they brought me down there. And it was amazing. You guys have heard me ask guests every week about, hey, was this your first visit? If so, like, could you explain it to us, or what was your concept of it, or what did you think ahead of time? For me, walking in there, it was not so much a shock as it was like a high point in my life to think, wow, this can be what recovery looks like. Honestly, I don't think I've ever said this out loud, but I thought they were on some bullshit. I didn't believe that people were clean. I was like, there's no way I'm walking in here with this, like, a motorcycle stuff everywhere and, like, neon signs and, like, this type of looking people and Elvis signs on the wall and Pee Wee Herman stuff and James Dean and Belushi, the Blues Brothers. Like, if you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, that's like the vibe. All these leather couches and leather chairs, and this lady, come to find out, Carolyn, she's cooking food every single night for anyone who walks in that door. There's a little weight room in there. This was on the other side. And there's this big old spindle of like 10,000 cards, like birthday cards, greeting cards, graduation cards, sympathy cards. Like, there was racks of clothes, like, and that was all for people like coming out of sober living, or people going into halfway houses that needed some resources, needed some shoes, needed some food. And I'm like, is this real, or like, how much does it cost? Because I was in early recovery. What did I know about showing up to a place that looked like that, coming from the streets where I came from, and to think like, oh, this is free? I was wondering what the cost of admission was. And I think it was either Paul or it may have been Dave R., one of these guys back then. And I was like, so, like, what do we do? Because I knew nothing about recovery. And one of them said, sit down, listen. So I sat down and I listened. And it was a big book study. I think it was Monday night. So we were packing them in there. I got done eating some lovely hot dish and went and got a pop. Like they said, you can put 50 cents in or $1 in and grab a pop. If you don't have money, just grab one anyways. And of course, I had nothing. I was just coming out of treatment, and I grabbed a pop and a big old plate of food, and I smashed it. This was a part in my life where I was like on EBT, and I was at the low of my life. I just got out of recovery, or out of my inpatient treatment. Just moved back in with mommy and daddy's basement. So I heard tons of people sharing, because I was going there every single day. I loved it. I was loving it. Like, that first 3 months of going to New Way and my inpatient treatment, let me preface this by saying, like, New Hope Alano, I still go there every Thursday night. Fridley Alano, Blaine Alano, and Twin Lake Alanos, and like Serenity Village and Eagle Brook. Like, I go to these places still, but that was the only flavor of recovery I had prior to walking into Will Work for Recovery. So in my mind, recovery was the church basements. Recovery was like these places with a brown table, a couple chairs, and bland ass walls with AA or NA literature on the walls. I had no problem with it. I just affiliated that with recovery. And then when I walked into Will Work for Recovery and I seen that, that's why in my head I'm like, BS. This ain't, you guys are on something else. Like this, I'm Mr. I know everything. And I'm sorry, this is kind of turning into a part of my story, but I'm just explaining what Will Work for Recovery has done for me and what it was. So that's the reason I stayed into recovery. Like, I can honestly say, wholeheartedly say, like, that's what kept me coming back and excited for recovery in the early days, before I had a box full of tools on how to stay clean. That was the interest that kept peaked in my brain about showing back up. I was meeting people, like-minded people, and I was meeting some serious heavy hitters in recovery in those rooms. That's where I met Bob S. and Dave R. and I think Greg S. and Tony M. and I can keep going. And if I didn't say your name, I'm sorry, but you all know who you are. I reach out to you guys still daily. But that was the room that I was introduced to a lot of people in recovery and a lot of people that were about recovery. And it made it exciting and fun for me. That's what Will Work for Recovery is to me. Like, it's exciting and fun. Ooh, pileated woodpecker right up there. Ooh, you guys aren't going to be able to see it, but this big-ass woodpecker's up there. Hopefully he comes down here to this little bird feeder, and I'll interrupt. I'm really like ADD, so don't worry. I will be interrupted by a bird flying by or a deer or a turkey, but I'll share it with you guys. So this is a little different. Like I said, damn, yeah, he's a big ass woodpecker up there. Basically, Will Work for Recovery is part of what saved my life, and I believe in this letter that I'm going to be reading. They talk about it because they never shut their doors during COVID. We all know there was only 2 facilities basically that never shut their doors during COVID, and that's one of those debts I don't know how I'm gonna ever pay except for a living amends. Keep showing up and keep the doors open for that next guy who shows up, or to show him like this life can, this is a possibility. Um, so you know what, like I think you guys all understand where I'm at with my love for Will Work for Recovery. I love that place. I moved the podcast to Will Work for Recovery. It originally started at 2218, and I have a huge spot in my heart for 2218 because, like I said, Will Work for Recovery and 2218 were the only 2 places that never shut their doors during COVID. And I was raised in recovery with in-person meetings. Zoom serves a purpose. For me, it didn't serve the purpose that human interaction serves. For me, I needed human interaction. I needed it. And when COVID hit, man, anyone who's in the rooms that have been in for a few years, you know what it was like. Your regular Allen, all your clubs were like we had nowhere to go unless we did some bootleg hijack meetings at the park, or you all know if you were around during COVID, you know what we had to do to get our in-person meetings. It was pretty tricky, and you know we're a bunch of alcoholics and addicts. We're not the best at coordinating. I've learned about I statements too, so I don't assume you're on the same page as me. So when I say that, I meant myself. I'm not good at coordinating. I'm not good at like scheduling and what have you. So to have the doors remained open at Will Work for Recovery and 2218 during COVID, it's one of those things where I talk about it. It's a debt of gratitude that I will forever have a living amends for those places, and I will stay preaching from a mountaintop about how they saved my life and how they play a real pivotal role in my life of recovery and just of life. Sorry about any banging and I'm out here and I know I have everything set up on the railing, so that was me just barely tapping the railing, so bear with all that crap. I put you guys through way worse than that. So Will Work for Recovery, 2520 North 2nd Street. We're moving. The first of next month, we're going to be at 4042 Washington. You know what? I should confirm that, but it's about a mile and a half down the road from where Will Work for Recovery is now. And yeah, 4024 Washington Avenue North. I'm going to put it up in the comment section right now so you guys can all see it. 4024 Washington Avenue North. Gosh, this is so professional. I'm such a professional podcaster. Washington. I didn't even spell it right. Over here trying to podcast and do that. So Washington Avenue. Boom. There it goes. So this is where we're moving on the 1st, and all are welcome to come there. You know what it is. Doors are open. If you guys want to be part of helping us move or whatever, like show up on the end of the month and come to 2520 North 2nd Street and give us a hand if you're able to. If not, like we're looking forward to seeing you guys come show your faces at the new spot. We got a podcast studio. Star and her mom have their own little prayer rooms. We've got a big workout room. Paul and me just walked through it not too long ago, so now I have a better grip on what I can tell you guys about. We've got a optional spot that he might get. That's up in there. But the center's going to be bigger than what we're in now. It's everything we have now and some. They're adding on bigger spaces, more offices, the computer lab. Like I said, the foosball tables and pinball or ping pong and all those things. Movie rooms. It's going to be amazing. So come check it out. Come support the place. You guys know what it is. So I'm going to quit blabbing. I was telling my brother about it. I was like, tonight's an ego night. Not intentionally, but shit, for me to just sit and blab, 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 I'm not going to go super long about, just blabbing. I'm going to try my best not to. I'm going to read this letter I got. I'm going to read a couple messages that have come in over time, and I'm going to show you guys like this. For me, that's serenity. Like just, I don't know. Like I said, I've turned into a bird nerd. turned myself a bird nerd because I'm out here excited to see hummingbirds show up. Like, I don't know if you can see, I have 7 hummingbird feeders off the back, and I've got all these other feeders and I'm a bird nerd, but it brings me some type of peace of mind, and this is one of those gifts I was able to be given due to recovery. It's my therapy, stuff like this. John, I love you, man. Joey, love you guys. Man, I love you guys who check in, and I love you guys who are in my life. I was able to go over to my sponsor, Ron F's house yesterday, and I know a lot of people that might be on or end up hearing this. They showed up. We ended up with like almost 50 people total showed up over at Ron's for barbecue, for poker, for fireworks, and it was utter mayhem, but it was also fun, and it was fellowship. Like, it was amazing. That's just some recovery stuff. So everyone was in my life. I'm so grateful for them, especially now. Like, life's showing up for me. I'm dealing with some stuff, and I talked about it a little last week at the beginning of the show. But here's the thing: like, today we face life clean. We face life sober, and the feelings are real. Not saying they weren't before, but for me, my own personal journey, I've never had, like, everything I go through now is new. It's the first time I'm going through it clean. And sometimes I just don't know how to deal with it, or I don't know how to get through it. Let me rephrase that. It's a lot trickier going through these things that I never knew how to do before. But today I can pick the phone up. I can go to a meeting. I can do some service work. That's the best thing for me. When I'm dealing with some shit that I don't know how I'm going to get through it, and it hurts your heart so bad, and it's not easy to go through. I do my best to get outside myself, go work with another alcoholic. Go work with a struggling addict. Go help somebody else. Go do something outside yourself that's not for yourself, but inadvertently it's for yourself, because, I mean, I'm just talking about me here. But every time I help someone else, or I get outside myself and go do some service work, feed my starving children, make sandwiches at the church, go speak at the hospitals or the treatment centers, or just show up for a sponsee, like, that's what gets me through. It might not be what works for you, but, like, it's a suggestion I will give, is go do something that's not for yourself. Go do some service work, and go get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Get comfortable without being comfortable. You know what I mean? Get okay with not being okay. Get comfortable without being comfortable. All right, so 18 minutes of me blabbing on. Let's get after this, and I'm going to read this letter. And bear with me. I didn't really proofread it, which is not smart, but it's what it is. There are things about this place, Will Work for Recovery, that words will never magnify to the point that I would like them to. And with that said, a very simple, straightforward, and to the point statement is this: if it was not for Will Work for Recovery, I don't think I'd be alive today. If those doors weren't open during COVID and I was not able to make it to a meeting in person, I fear that I would either be dead or in jail or back in an institution. There are so many different reasons I praise Will Work for Recovery for having a place for the next addict to come walk through those doors, as I was one of those addicts. I am one of those addicts that kept us. Oh my gosh, Tim, proofread, or pre-read, so I don't sound like a bumbling fool when I read this. I am one of those addicts. This club means more to me, as it has helped me because of the adult that I want to be. It's helped me become the adult that I'm working to be. The son my mother has always wanted and deserved, as well as someone to be relied on in ways that I could only hope could rely on me someday, or others. People talk about specific moments in their life that they can trace back to, and know that those are the moments that made a difference in and for everything, because I can say without this place being here, I wouldn't be here. It's almost as simple as that. Without Will Work for Recovery or places like 2218, Fridley Alleno, New Hope Alleno, Serenity Village, any of these places, I would not be here. I'd be dead. It's somewhat dark to take it to that place, but in reality, the dark is somewhere where we can get through to find the light. And it's what we're talking about as addicts. But the brightest sunlight that comes from that darkness is the results of clubs like Will Work for Recovery or 2218, and what it does for the recovery community and what I am in. That is what I am in. this recovery community. The recovery community, I've been taught things that have saved my life, as well as afforded me new ideas on helping others to save theirs. Because of Will Work for Recovery and other places, their doors never shutting throughout the pandemic, we have been able to save thousands upon thousands of lives as they come to walk through the door and those doors were open. And it's just a today program. With the connections that have been made walking through those doors and keeping those doors open, addicts upon addicts and alcoholics upon alcoholics throughout the pandemic were able to connect with other alcoholics and addicts, which is much bigger than one single person. That is this program, and the essence of it is the connection piece. Without that connection, there's no me. There's no other addicts. The Attitude for Gratitude podcast, the weekly live podcast that we do, which I'm the host of, and have been afforded this great gift and honor of talking with other fellow addicts or other people like myself on a weekly basis for hours or two at a time. It's about the way of life and about their way of life. Geez, now I'm thinking this is something I wrote. Is recovery, as well as the blessings that we receive because of it. This podcast was birthed out of the doors being opened during COVID. This podcast came about during the doors staying open. Without them doors being open during the pandemic, there's no podcast. Multiple meetings were started out of the pandemic. At the times, the change in property around Alano have been you know what? I'm pre-reading this, and a lot of this has to do with during COVID and how the doors staying open is a direct cause and effect of me being here and the person who wrote this. I'm not going to go much further in on that. What I'm going to do is just say, like, showing up is the key part of all this new life, this life of recovery. Don, I'm sorry. I didn't see that. I don't know where we're at on this. My main goal tonight about even hopping on was to let people know that, like, we do recover. We do get to come into these rooms and keep coming back. It's to ask people to be of service and to get outside yourself. And when you see someone struggling, or when you're thinking about someone, or you see someone in these rooms being quiet or to themselves, go introduce yourself. Go ask, hey, how's it going? And mean it. I don't know. Those are things that help me along the way. I don't know if I'm going to make a whole half hour tonight. What I'm going to do is spin this around, let you guys just see a little bit of that sunset and a little bit of that serenity out there. But, yeah, like I was saying, the goal for me tonight with even getting this on and getting this going was to be able to just check in. Was not my intention. Me and Jake had a scheduling issue, or I had a scheduling issue. I was thinking that he was going to be able to cover tonight, and that just didn't happen, which is okay. I was able to take it on the road and let you guys see what I came to do, I guess. And as always, you know what? Hey, do you have the show on? Can you hear me? Oh, all right. Yeah, I got some people telling me they can't hear me. So what I'm gonna do is try. Okay. Bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna throw this in and figure out which button it is to turn it up. But I'm sorry about that, Don. I don't know what's going on here. The plan was to not have it super quiet. Let's see here. All right. Let's see if something turned down on me. I'm not sure. My mic's turned all the way up. I'm not sure what to say here. Not sure what's going on here or why it's... Yeah, I'm having issues on my side too. I'm not sure. I have my mic turned all the way up, and I got my mouth thing there on my mic. Oh, you can hear it better now? Good. Thank you, Don. I wouldn't have known that there was any issues. Thank you. I had someone text me saying they could hear it too. I'm not sure now. I hope I'm not irritatingly loud. There's not much more that I'm really going to talk about. The letter I was going to read was something that came in early on in early days. It was just basically a validation of why we do this show. We had someone reach out telling us that they were really struggling, and like you'll hear me talk about at the end of the night, at the end of the show, is like, you deserve this life. You deserve this happiness. And like, if no one's told you today, like, let me be the first one to say, like, you're loved and you're worth being here. So like, stick around and like give it a shot. Stick around and hang out in these rooms for a while, like make some connections. And that's what this letter was about. And unfortunately, like, I didn't get permission to read his letter again. He had no problem with me reading it a year ago, but I wanted to read it again tonight just because it was some sustenance for the show, and it kind of validates the reason why I keep doing the show. I go into recovery treatment centers, and I get to share my story quite a bit at the place that I went to inpatient treatment, and then other facilities that I've been to over time. And I always bring up this podcast. Let's not kid myself. I do a lot of self-advertising about it. I always tell them when it is, where to find it, and what it's about. But the main thing is, like, I tell everyone, like, you have a voice. And this goes out to anyone listening. You have a voice. And your voice is valid. And your story is valid. And so are your feelings. So, like, don't hide those or not speak about them ever. They're valid. They're yours. And your voice is the most important thing that you have sometimes. So I always tell people to come on the show and come check it out. Like, you're appreciated. I don't know why, I don't know why I can get so sidetracked by hearing my phone ring. That's kind of messed up. But I apologize about that. So, yes, anyone out there, geez Louise, guys and girls, just please reach out. Please reach out. Again, you're worth this life. If no one's told you today, like, I'll tell you, I love you. We talked about some mental health right when I opened up the show, and, like, it's a real thing. So never shy away from it. Seek professional help and, like, medications or counseling, whatever the case may be. Take advantage of that stuff, whatever the case is. Don't hide your feelings. Go speak about it with someone, like, link up with a mentor or a sponsor, or get into some step work with someone, or get into some of the rooms out there or some of the meetings, whatever works for you. If you've listened to this show over the last 3 years, you know that I've had people on here who've talked about transcendental meditation, Buddhism, just faith-based. Cold turkey. We had a girl on here last week or the week before who has 2 children, and she dropped her children off at her mom's, went to a motel for 2 weeks and kicked heroin cold turkey, and went through what I could only imagine to be hell. And she's been clean now 3 years. What her life looks like today, I don't know if it's what I would choose, but it doesn't matter. The point of me sharing all this is, like, I've heard over a dozen different ways people have found their finish line. I used to think because I'm an old heroin junkie that found the Alcoholics Anonymous worked for me. I found the rooms of AA, and that's what worked for me. And like I say, I was a junkie. Whatever works for you. I used to think that's all I could tell people. Is like, nope, AA is the only way to go. I thought that because that's what worked for me. That's what I'm saying. Today, I don't think it that way. Whatever works for you, as long as you're out there doing something different and you're finding your own happiness when you rest your head on your pillow at night and you don't have the regrets of the day or your actions, good on you. Good on you, man. Like, whoever, you know what I'm saying? And I mean that. I'm not here to tell anyone how you need to do your recovery, because you know what? It's your recovery. Second, I find myself telling people what to do about the recovery, I need to go get a mirror. Unless someone's asking me for my advice or opinion on it, it's not mine to give. Unless they're asking. We had people on the show bringing up the marijuana maintenance program, or Suboxone, or methadone, or step-down programs, or harm reduction. I have my opinions on it, but I know I know what has worked for me. And whatever may work for you, like, go after it. That's the way I share it. Last night, I came home from up here last night and spoke at Fairview Riverside. And I like to keep it kind of interactive. It's not just me up there doing experience, strength, and hope for an hour. I make it interactive. So, like, I open it up. Like, if anyone's got a question while I'm shooting my story out, like, speak up. And that was one of the questions that came up, and ended up sidetracking my share for about 45 minutes talking about those type of things. Like, someone was really struggling because they were taking Suboxone, and they were worried about what other people were saying about that. Things like that. So my suggestion is like try your best not to get in your head what other people think, because the way you see me is not my concern. It's not my concern. I'm not responsible for the way you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a hard thing to learn and a hard pill to swallow for myself, but I'm not responsible for that. And what you say about me is not my business. I got to keep that out of my head too, because I will spin out on that shit. It's not, clean time doesn't equal recovery for me. Someone says something negative about me or to me, truth or not, I get in my head about it. I have to share with my sponsor or share in small group about it just so it's off my chest and I don't spin out on it. I've gone a half hour. That's about long enough. You guys don't need to hear me yamming on anymore. Sarah, what's good, Sarah? Thanks for getting on. I didn't even notice until I just looked up. Don, thank you for, everyone who's checked in tonight, everyone who's on the show. Typically, if you're hearing me now for the first time or something, my show usually goes about 2+ hours. But we're also at the center. I have guests on. This is the second time in 3 years that I've done the show solo. It's just because I came up north and I was able to. Plus, I wanted to share this with anyone. Like, go get you a piece of this. I don't know. This is what works for me. This is what gets me out of my head. And, well, sometimes they come up here and get in my head, too. That's not that good. But then I pick my phone up. So, if you're struggling tonight, if you're thinking about picking up, if you got some thoughts of self-harm or any of these things, please reach out. Get down to 2520 North 2nd Street or go to the When and Where, or go online and, like, check out where there's some in-person stuff going on. You can always call Intergroup or, what is it, 899? Oh, shit, I should have that hotline number memorized by now. I believe it's 988 or 899. It's a suicide hotline number. It's 988. I'm sorry about that. If you're struggling with any of those type of things about self-harm or what have you, like, reach out to that number, 988. That's 24/7. But again, like, you're worth this life of recovery. If no one's told you, I'll tell you. You're loved. Thank you for checking in. Thanks for supporting this show. And until next week, I love you all. Adios.